welcome to the next episode of Bisportuals, your new favorite sports podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
I'm Cameron.
And I'm Kyle.
And as you can see, you can actually see us now. Episode 5, we thought we'd take a little step up, so we've got all our pretty little faces here on camera. We'll still be uploading audio versions as well, but if you'd like, we have the video available. But let's not let that distract us from what we're here to do, and that's talk sports, boys. So let's dive right in. We'll start with the NFL. We're going to play a little game. You know, now that the NFL season is nearing its end, we start to talk about players and legacy and who are the greats, who are the true all-time greats. And that's why we're going to play a game today called Hall of Fame or Hall of Fine. I'm going to give you guys a player. They are all active NBA players or NFL players currently.
Dumbass.
They're not NBA players, notably. They're all active NFL players. And I want you to tell me, currently, are they in the Hall of Fame or are they in the Hall of Fame?
I'm pretty sure if they're active, none of them are in the Hall of Fame.
Well, not a fuck you. Are they on trajectory to be in the Hall of Fame? Do they have a Hall of Fame caliber career? There, you happy?
Yeah.
Oh, glad. I'm glad I could make you happy. So let's go ahead, hop right in with our first name. We're going to start with Trent Williams. Trent Williams, the stud left tackle for the San Francisco 49ers. Many consider to be the best lineman in the game. For the past couple of years, it's been him and Quentin Nelson, the guard out of Indiana. But Trent Williams, Kyle, I want to throw it to you first. Hall of Fame or Hall of Fame?
I'm sticking with the Hall of Fame on Trent Williams here. Just in general, his career trajectory has been phenomenal. I think he's the number one paid offensive lineman ever, like just period ever. And he deserves it. I haven't been able to dig into like the advanced stats on him, but I'm sure that he is like number one in pass block efficiency, number one in run block efficiency. He is always at the top of the league for a reason. He has shown up season and season. At some point, he's bound to get his ring. I think it's probably going to be either next year or the year after. So he's on a great trajectory. As long as he can lock up that, or even just a couple more All Pros or a couple more Pro Bowls, things like that. Like where he sits right now, he is absolutely on course for a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I feel the same way. My criteria for if I consider you a Hall of Famer is if you've been the best or one of the best at your position for a long period of time. And I think Trent Williams is a definition of that. As you said, he's been considered one of the best linemen in the league for the past few years. As you said, he's definitely been one of the best left tackles, if not the best. And that's why I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, dude's got that dog in him. No question about it. I mean, he's a mauler. He's huge, which is important for a left tackle, and you need to be able to pass block. But he can move. That's kind of his whole thing. He can pass block with the best of them, but San Francisco, they run that wide zone run scheme. He can get out sideline to sideline, and he can make plays across the entirety of the field. That's rare. It's a rare thing to see. We'll go ahead. We'll switch sides, but we're going to stay on the line here. We're going to go defensive line, specifically an edge rusher. We've got Cam Jordan. New Orleans Saint has sort of fallen off here in the last couple of years, but was a wrecking ball on that Saints defensive line for a long time. Cameron, how are we feeling about your namesake, Cam Jordan?
Personally, I don't give a shit about the Saints whatsoever. I have not been following his career, but I know from NFL Instagram posts that he's been great for a while. I hear his name brought up. Is he the longest tenured player in the NFL right now? Or not a quarterback?
I was going to say Aaron Rodgers is the most tenured player in the NFL. But even that, I don't think he's the second most.
He's got to be up there on the defensive side of the ball for sure. He's got to be up there. It's him and like you think like Jalen Ramsey and Harrison Smith.
Yeah, as I said, I don't know shit about the Saints because I don't care about them. Stupid team. But sure, give him Hall of Fame.
I'm in the similar boat with Cam that I really do not enjoy Saints football. But I'm not in the same boat in terms of Hall of Fame on this one. Brian kind of alluded to it that he's definitely taken a step back these past few years, and Father Time is starting to catch up. Truly, what has Cam Jordan accomplished. Like, I don't know if he hasn't won like defensive player of the year. He hasn't like been in like deep consideration for it. Like, he's usually on the bubble of that. But he's never really up there anymore. I could be wrong. I don't think he has a Super Bowl ring. I don't think he was on the 09 Saints.
Oh, no. I don't believe he
He
was.
So,
was drafted in 11, I think.
yeah. So what has Cam Jordan done for the game of football? Granted, I made that same
Put up
argument
fucking
with,
numbers.
Yeah.
yeah. I made that same argument with Trent Williams where he's bound to get his Super Bowl ring, but I don't think that Cam Jordan is bound to do that. I don't think he's bound to contribute to successful football. And I'm feeling like Ryan last week when we were talking about Kevin Durant, but like he doesn't contribute to winning football because the Saints have sucked a lot during Cam Jordan's tenure with that team.
And they're
he's
going to
been there the whole
continue
time.
to
They've
suck.
also won
They're
a
going to
lot.
continue to suck.
They have won a lot. They've gotten into the playoffs, but they haven't gotten out of the divisional round since they went to the Super Bowl.
Remember, their last couple of quarterbacks, Derek Carr, which mistake already. Before that, you hung on to Drew Brees for like 3 years too long.
Too long.
There was a Jameis intermission.
There was the Jameis intermission.
So again, the team success is not entirely on him because it is a team game. But I just don't think, me personally, I don't think that he has elevated his team in any way, shape, or form to deserve a Hall of Fame caliber career. So I'm going to say Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to keep it moving here. Coming back to the offense. This guy's I think he's on his third team now. His third team might be trying to re-sign him. There's a quarterback question there, but he's got a ring. I believe he's got an MVP as well. Let's take a look at Mr. Unlimited. The one, the only Russell Wilson.
He does
Russell
not have
Wilson,
an MVP.
Kyle. He doesn't?
Nope.
No,
No.
he did. He had Rookie of the Year, didn't he? Coming out of Wisconsin.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
I believe he
and then
had-
I
I
think
believe he had
he got a
Rookie of the
Super Bowl
Year.
MVP. I think he
Yeah.
got Super Bowl MVP. That's
Yes.
what
He
I'm thinking
does
of.
not have a regular season MVP. He was the guy who was always in consideration for the first 6 weeks, and everyone was like, "Why doesn't he have one yet?" And then he falls
And
off
then
the
he-
cliff.
Yeah, he's still got a ring.
Yeah.
He's still got a ring. Kyle, I want to throw it to you. Russell Wilson, is he high-kneeing into the Hall of Fame or not?
I think he is. My only like deteriorating fact was his like Denver Broncos stint where he threw he didn't throw as many touchdowns as he had bathrooms in his Denver mansion in his entire Denver career, which is ridiculous. I mean, he had a little bit of a spark this season with the Steelers, but I feel like unfortunately, like the longer that his career is going on, the worse he's leaving his legacy. Like if he just kind of, I feel like he's stretching it out a little bit. If he kind of stopped like in Denver and just said, "Yep, this is my career, I'm done," I think he would be a Hall of Famer. I still think that he is, but there's more of an argument now of like maybe other people deserve it more than him. But he beat Tom Brady he beat Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl, didn't he? I don't remember.
Yes,
It was at,
he
I don't remember.
yeah.
He lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl because he threw at the 1 yard line
Yes,
instead of handing
that's
it
what
off
it was.
to
Yeah. So
Marshawn
yes, he beat
And what
beat
was their
Peyton
defense
Manning in the
called
Super
that
Bowl.
year?
Legion of Boom.
Woohoo! Yo, that's copyright.
Shout out
We
Big
can't do that. We
Justice,
can't do
shout
that.
out
We can't do
AJ.
that.
But I still think that he's going to make it. There's plenty of arguments for him and not as many arguments against him. So I'm going to say Hall of Fame.
Cameron?
Yeah, I'm also going to say Hall of Fame. As I said, one of the best at his position for multiple years. He won a Super Bowl. He got to another Super Bowl that he didn't win. Still great getting there, especially in a tough division. I feel like if he plays more than 2 more seasons, it's going to go down the drain far enough to where there might be an argument for no. But if he plays 1 or 2 more years, I can absolutely see him making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, he's involved with one of the most famous moments in NFL Super Bowl history of throwing it at the 1 yard line and getting intercepted by Malcolm Butler. It's not a great thing to be remembered for, but to be remembered is significant like that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw out one last name, and there may be a little bit of homerism on our end here, but the pride of Notre Dame, which I hate saying because I don't like Notre Dame, Minnesota Vikings safety Harrison Smith.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
One
mean,
of the
come
best
on.
at his position for a long time.
Better
I feel
than better than Troy Polamalu. Like statistically better.
well, I was gonna put his name in the Palamalu conversation because I think
Statistically better.
he had better stats, but nobody played the game. Nobody played the position like Troy because
Yeah.
Troy
Yeah.
spoke to God before every snap.
And
Mhm.
Harrison just switches up his haircut every 16 months.
Yeah, and microwaves a block of Velveeta cheese before every game. It's that
Oh,
Notre
I'm
Dame
familiar
education,
with
dude.
that.
It fucks you up. It fucks up your taste buds. Fuck Notre
Yeah.
Dame. I don't like them. They're up there with Michigan for me.
Almost
All right.
champions.
Almost, but you got
Mhm.
rocked. You got rocked by Ohio State. All right. Let's go ahead and continue our NFL conversation. And we like to be honest here on Bisportuals. We like to do some retrospectives, look back at some of our previous takes, like Cameron did 2 episodes ago, talking about and apologizing for his take on Sam Darnold.
My bad,
But
guys.
when we get it right here on Bisportuals, we get it right. I would just like to point out that last week, all 3 of our coaching predictions, I predicted Pete Carroll to the Las Vegas Raiders, Cameron predicted Liam Cohen to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Kyle talked about Brian Schottenheimer to Dallas. 3 for 3. Perfect grade, perfect score. Give yourselves a round of applause, boys.
I'm giving
We've earned
myself a
this
small one. Giving myself a small one only because
I gave a
I was
very
leaning
large
more
one.
towards Dion. I was leaning very heavily towards Dion. I gave Schottenheimer a shout out, but I still talked about him. We still deserve
He got the
some
mention.
royalties here.
Yeah, and that means what was it? 17.5% of the
believe so.
contract.
Yes.
And then all 3 of them are going to have to come on the show at some
Yes.
point.
Can we?
Yeah.
Let's do it all at the same time, so we have 6 people trying to talk over each other all at the same time. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
Hey, coach, what'd you think about this?
Hey, coach. We could have that could be our feature episode where we bring in John Gruden as well because he's doing the media circuit right now, trying to get back into the NFL.
Imagine a podcast with
knows?
all current 32 NFL head coaches, and then
They're
us
just
3.
all on one video call,
They're
and
all
then
asked
3
the same
doofuses from the
question at
Midwest.
the same time.
It would be magnificent. That's
It'd
the
be-
only thing that comes to mind.
It'd be beautiful and it'd be fucking awful. No head coach interview could ever beat the Sunday Conversation with Kevin O'Connell, though. That still reigns supreme in head coach interviews.
Shout out.
That's a classic. Shout out, Caleb Presley.
Shout out. Who
But-
was the Jaguars GM that they fired?
Trent Baalke.
Yeah, that Liam Cohen take came kind of close. You know, he said he was going to go back to the Buccaneers, become the highest paid coordinator in the league. And then the Jaguars fired Trent Baalke the next day. One of the worst GMs to work with, allegedly. And that might have been the needle tipper. And props to Shad Khan for doing what was necessary and long overdue. But they got their guy.
Reports are that was what Liam Cohen was waiting for. He wanted Trent Baalke out. He wanted to pick his own GM.
Wow.
And they originally weren't willing to do it. And then they were like, oh shit, this guy's going to go back to the Bucs.
Thank you, Shad Khan, for seeing sense.
And for that glorious mustache. Shad Khan's
Amen.
got a
Oh, yeah.
great stash.
Absolutely.
But other than the coaching cycle, there were NFL games played this weekend. Why, they were the conference championship games. The best in the AFC and NFC going at it. The Bills
Going at it.
trying to...
In bed.
No, they weren't. They were on the football field. The Bills tried to get the playoff demon off of their back, that are the Kansas City Chiefs, and failed yet again. It is almost a tradition at this point for the Chiefs to beat the Bills in playoff football. Patrick Mahomes is now 4-0 in the playoffs against Josh Allen. That is the most a quarterback has ever played another quarterback and been undefeated in the playoffs. So that's a new record. It's a wordy record, but we make that when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. And in the NFC, a matchup that nobody saw coming. We all thought the Eagles might be there, but the Washington Commanders, after a crazy upset of the Detroit Lions, went in and fumbled the game quite literally multiple times. They were in there for a little bit, but then things started to get out of control. There was that whole debacle with the tush push and Frankie Louvu trying to jump the line, which
shout out Louvu. That was incredible.
Shout out Frankie Louvu. And I'm going to talk about that later. But first, I want to get your guys' takes. Cameron, go ahead, pick a team. What are your initial reactions coming away from the championship weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Chiefs here. So I know they won. I know they should not have gotten the ball because Josh Allen definitely got that first down. And I know they only really won because Dalton Kincaid dropped a pass that he likely shouldn't have even, like, he had no reason to catch it. It wasn't a great pass. But the Chiefs aren't like a bad team. They're still playing convincing, great football. Patrick Mahomes, 18 for 26, 245 yards, 64 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. You had great production from the top 2 receivers, Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster. Hollywood Brown had a big catch. Travis Kelce sucks cock. But
he sucks Taylor's cock.
If this was any team other than the Bills, it likely would have been a blowout. They were playing very good football, very clean football. And the refs weren't even on that side very much for that one, other than the end with that first down call, which totally should have been a first down for the Bills. But everyone else is already complaining about that. I don't want to add on to it too much.
Yeah, I think, well, Kyle, I'll let you talk about your team, and then I do have a take on this game, and specifically how folks in the media are talking about it, because I think there's been some misallocation of blame here. But Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, the main thing that I wrote down for the Bills was that they have a lot to be happy with in this game. Obviously, they have a lot to take back to the drawing board and say, we can do better next time. We're going to get them next year. The whole kid and caboodle. But
that they've been saying for 4 or 5 years now, to be clear.
Yeah. It's their second 0-4
around Josh.
Yeah. Like, their general manager has some work to do this offseason. But you see Josh Allen. You see what he can do with this. Like, again, we talked about the power of friendship earlier on. It's like, this is truly a power of friendship team that is really just like sewn together in the most mixed up way possible. And Josh Allen was still able to get to the AFC Championship game. So you know your guy is there. You know that he can work with what is given to him and make things happen. They just had to elevate a few key positions and then they could get it done. Which, granted, they had a couple years ago and they probably could have gotten it done. But going into this next season, they have a lot to be happy about. Really, their season ended on like O-line blowing up that blitz. Because if they didn't do that, they had their running back in the flat for a wide open screen. And if he was able to turn his head to the left, he would have seen that and they would have gotten a first down, and that probably would have ended the game. But instead, he got blown up and he had to throw that deep ball into Dalton Kincaid where he just couldn't catch it. So regardless of that, like, most of that game, they fought tooth and nail. They made it worth their while. So they have a lot to take away and build upon for next year. So I don't want Bills fans to get too upset over their second 0-4 stat, because they are 0-4 in Super Bowl appearances, and now they are 0-4 against Pat Mahomes in the playoffs. But 2 wrongs here might be making a right.
See, I want to talk about specifically when it comes to the Bills, that last play of their offense, because I've seen a lot of the media is talking about, well, he just had to get it up there. The fact that it was even catchable by Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, he should make that catch, but we're not going to hate on him because he didn't, because it was a tough catch regardless. Or sorry, he could have made that catch, not he should have made that catch. There has not been enough talked about. I've seen one person talk about this in the media, and that's RG3. RG3 talked about this in that the responsibility for that play, and you talked about the failure of protection on the offensive line. Josh Allen sets the protections of that Bills offense. Some offenses, when you have a rookie quarterback, the center will be the one who sets protections, reads the D-line, tries to find where the blitz is coming. Josh Allen is not a rookie quarterback. He knows the NFL well enough. He calls his own protections. He had the opportunity at the line to give them a right or a left call, which, this is coming from RG3, who knows more about quarterbacking in the NFL than I do. He
For
had
most
the
people.
opportunity. Yeah, he had the opportunity to make a right or left call of where to slide the weak side guard to catch that kind of a blitz. And he just misread it. He just misread it. Because if he does make that read, then he has either, like you were talking about, Khalil Shakir on that orbit route out to the play side flat, or if the edge, who in reality went and dropped into coverage, so Khalil wasn't totally open, but he would have had Dalton Kincaid over the middle, and it wouldn't have had to be a Hail Mary huck. It could have been a strike. It could have been a better ball. It's not, and this is not to be an indictment on Josh Allen. My point here is that Josh Allen makes a lot of great plays, but he still makes some critical mistakes. Whereas someone like Patrick Mahomes makes those great plays, but those critical game losing, and that's just game knowledge and recognition, pre-snap mistakes, you don't see those nearly as frequently in his game. And when it comes down to who's got the ball last and who can make a play, it's tough to beat Patrick Mahomes. And then my other take is I do think that was an actual fourth down stop. I did not think he got the first down, but
What the fuck? No.
he got stopped. His
arguably
torso
got it on the third down.
his torso crossed, but the ball did not cross.
He had the ball on his titties.
Yeah, and his back was the thing leading through the blitz. That's another thing. That's another coaching mistake. If you watch every time they did the tush push, if you compiled every time that Buffalo did the tush push, Josh Allen went over the left guard every time.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a coaching short sight. Sometimes you just got to come in and tell him, like, dude, just go over the right guard because they're tripling up on our left guard every time. I think Kansas City was more ready to play in this game, and it showed in the end. That's my take on it.
It was a beautiful game nonetheless. Very competitive.
It was
and
a
very
first down nonetheless. All right, next game.
Jeez.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the NFC. We had the Eagles and the Commanders here. I want to start with the Commanders, and I'm going to give my take on this, and I want your guys' opinion. Specifically, what's the iconic... There are a couple of iconic moments from that game. First play from scrimmage, Saquon Barkley goes for 65 or whatever it is, 70 yards. 60 yards, breaks multiple tackles, touchdown in the first play from scrimmage. We said last week there's a very serious chance this is a Saquon Barkley legacy game. And it was a legacy playoff game for Saquon Barkley, mainly because he's almost never been to the playoffs before. But still.
He beat the Minnesota Vikings.
He did. He did.
Was he playing?
I think so. Well, he beat Ed Donatell's defense, to be clear. But I want to look at that series on the goal line of the tush push from the one, and the refs had to come, and they kept getting encroachment calls, and the refs had to come and be like, we can just award them a touchdown if you keep doing this. I think this is yet more proof that the NFL in the offseason should ban the tush push.
Yeah.
It is ugly football. I can't name one person who was sitting watching that series of like 4 plays where Frankie Louvu jumped the line twice, and then I think it's Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne, one of their 2 D linemen, also jumped on the third time. I can't name anybody who looked at that and thought, now that's beautiful football. I think that's bogus football. That's dumb. And the second time when Frankie Louvu jumped and Jalen very clearly knew he was going to jump and like backed it up on him, I think that should be a false start. I think that kind of baiting on that kind of play is just ugly football. I think the Commanders in this game were not really in this game. That many fumbles, that many turnovers, it's hard to win in the NFL, especially when you're playing against an offense like Philadelphia. But that little goal line series, I think, is the epitome of the problems with the tush push as a whole. Trying to jump the line, I'm cool with that. I think you should be able to try to jump the line. But when that becomes your only option to effectively stopping a play, you can't have that.
I think one thing to also look at, I saw it on Twitter earlier, and I forget who I saw it from, but I'm pretty sure that the Eagles O-line, especially their interior, lines up illegally when they do the tush push. Like they are lining up in the neutral zone and almost getting an advantage. Granted, it may not be every single tush push that they do where they line up that way, but there was a couple times in that Commanders game when they were doing the tush push that, like, if you laid over the top, you saw them lining up in the neutral zone. So I think that might be the problem, or there should be some enforcement there. You don't necessarily have to ban a quarterback sneak where you get pushed from behind, but you just have to make sure that your offensive line is staying in formation and actually playing the way that they're supposed to or that they're allowed to.
Well, if you want it to be a battle of the trenches, make it a battle of the trenches. Don't get two running backs and a wide receiver to push your butt over the line. Like, I'm all for QB sneaks if they are real QB sneaks where it's my O-line on your O-line and I'm gonna personally fight forward. And Jalen Hurts would still have an advantage there. He squats 400 or 600 pounds. The dude's got
He's a beast.
Legs.
He was
He's
the
not
fastest
gonna
quarterback in the combine by a good amount the year he was
He's
drafted. I remember that distinctly.
He's not going to struggle on a normal QB sneak. But this lining up Saquon and Kenneth Gainwell and A.J. Brown behind him just to put their hands on his ass and give him another yard, you already can't pull. Why should you be able to push? That's my take.
Yeah.
That's my take.
I know Jalen Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns. Do you guys know how many of them were pushes?
Either 2 or 3.
Yeah, that makes sense. To be honest, I fell asleep.
Well, by the end of that game, I can't blame you. Here, I'll look it up, but keep on giving your take if you have a take on this.
Yeah, it's just not fun to watch. It's so boring. And as Ryan said, if the only way to defend against it is to go for these encroachment or offsides plays where you have the chance of going right at the snap, that's very abusable. If the Eagles kept like doing fake snap counts waiting for them to jump, they could have been awarded points. That seems like it can be abused. I don't like this. Be more creative. Come on.
It was 2. It was 2 of
Okay.
his 3 touchdowns. One in the second quarter, the one with just under 2 minutes to go, and then that one in the fourth, when at the beginning of the fourth, where the series happened. Yeah. But looking forward, I mean, Eagles are prepping for the Super Bowl. They're back there again. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat Kansas City because Kansas City is Kansas City. But, man, these Commanders, I think this is a young team. I mean, who's the elite players on their team are not like old vets that are super indispensable. Really, it's Terry McLaurin, it's Jaden Daniels, and you have a couple pieces on the defense that you like. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Marshawn Lattimore if you want to bring him back, but he did get cooked once or twice in that game as well.
He was not good that game.
No, he was elite at doing what Marshawn Lattimore does, which is get in the faces of wide receivers and put up hands.
Yeah.
But in actual like DB work, questionable. But the future for this Commanders team, it's the roof, the ceiling, the sky. I don't see where they can't go.
I'm surprised
they're going to be right back there
Kingsbury
next year.
didn't get another head coaching offer.
I think he was in Arizona for the longest time, wasn't he? Under Kyler?
He was yeah, for like 3 years. It wasn't for that long.
They signed him to an extension, and then the year after they signed him to an extension, they fired him. So then he got owed all of that extension money. So he could literally do whatever he wants. It's not that like the NFL doesn't want him as a head coach. It's maybe he just doesn't want to be a head coach because he's already getting a crap ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
And this raises the other question, which is, was it really Cliff Kingsbury's fault in Arizona? Or was it a Kyler problem?
Kyler Murray plays too much Call of Duty. I'll say it. I'll say it.
Starting to look like it might be a Kyler
argument
problem.
Had no merit this season.
Don't care.
The double XP weekend did not impact his play. Kyler Murray impacted his play.
Yeah.
They were in the playoff race for their division for a little bit, but that's because they were in the NFC
there was no one in their
whole
division.
Division was mid.
Yeah.
like through
The
most
Rams
of the
made it out of
season
that
until
division
the
this year.
Rams pulled away near the end.
Yeah. And well, the only reason the Rams didn't win it earlier is because their entire team was sent to the hospital for weeks 4 through 8, basically. And they only got Puka Nakua back right in week 8
Against
us.
Minnesota.
to come back against Minnesota. But they had no Cup. They had no Kyron Williams for a little bit. They had no Puka. I mean, it was a hospital fest.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead. The other big event coming up. We've still got 2 weeks till the Super Bowl, so we're going to save our Super Bowl predictions for next week. But there is an event coming up that we believe deserves to be talked about. Not what its former glory once was. The NFL Pro Bowl has become the Pro Bowl skills showcase and flag football. I want to pose the question to you guys. Does the Pro Bowl even matter anymore? Should the NFL keep it? Should they try to change it? The NBA is facing the same issue. What should the NFL do? Kyle, I'll go to you first.
You know, one of the things that I dislike about the Pro Bowl that I've told you guys before is that like the alternates shouldn't be like in their career accolade. They should not be designated as a Pro Bowler because I think the alternate system and how it's set up, they can't be doing the Pro Bowl right before the Super Bowl.
You
That's
mean that
the problem.
Mac Jones and Tyler Huntley didn't deserve those Pro Bowl nominations? They
Yeah,
didn't
and
deserve
Drake
it?
May did not deserve a Pro Bowl nomination this year. Just period. He should not be the third string quarterback in the AFC. Like there were so many better
Wait,
choices.
it was Drake May?
Yeah, Drake May got selected for a Pro Bowl
He's their
appearance in his
alternate.
rookie year. Yeah,
He played 4 games.
exactly. That's the problem. That's the problem. Is because all these great teams, like all the great players for both sides, get picked, and then all those top 3 teams make it to the championship game, and then those players can't play in the Pro Bowl because it's too late in the year. They can't prep for it. Nothing. It is a ridiculous timeline. That's the problem. They either need to put it like at a midway point in the season, add like a extra bye week or something, make it fun where people are really engaged into football because those are when the games matter. Or after the Super Bowl, after people kind of relax for a little bit, and then you can still get those good guys in there and they can just go have fun. Like the timing of it sucks. And that's why players don't care. And that's why we get these, excuse my language, excuse my French, shitty alternates that aren't really the Pro Bowl players.
Don't say shit about Brian O'Neill.
No, Brian O'Neill, like, again, there are exceptions to it. But again, like Ryan mentioned Tyler Huntley. When Tyler Huntley made the Pro Bowl, like his one Pro Bowl appearance, he did not deserve it. So there are some players that it doesn't make sense why they're there. I don't know how much fan voting accounts for it. I would say that there's an opportunity there where like they can alter that in either direction, and it may improve it because I feel like it's not impactful at all. So either just entirely remove it and just like basically your all pro teams would be your Pro Bowlers. Or you can make it more impactful where it's like really the fans are voting on it. There's a lot of things that you can do with the Pro Bowl, but I think the number one thing is like the scheduling of it and timeline to get the good players in there. I think that would be the way to draw more attention to the showcase. There's like 2 good events in the showcase, and it's that big relay race and dodgeball. And then there's an honorable mention there for that like spectacular catch because I enjoy watching that one. I think that's fun.
You
But,
didn't like the golf longest drive that Andrew
No.
DePaula hit?
No. So I think I like how they try and spice it up. I like how they try and make it unique. But there's some consistent games that people enjoy watching. They can't spend the entire weekend watching the skill showcase. I would say there's too much in that. Do what the NBA does. There's a 3-point contest, there's a dunk contest, and there's like I know they have like the Rising Stars game, but like and then beyond that it's the skill showcase. Yeah, there's 4 things. There's 4 things. It feels like the NFL has like 80 in 2 days. There's not enough to like I can't sit and watch everything that's going on anyways. And then all of a sudden the Pro Bowl's there. Like, oh yeah, we also just have this flag football game now. It just kind of wears you down. Whereas like I think the NBA does it really well for that spread of the weekend, where it's like that Friday's the Rising Stars game, Saturday's the 3-point and dunk contest, and then Sunday is the game. I think that works really well. So something to consider.
Cameron, same questions to you. What do you think the NFL should do about the Pro Bowl?
I am not sure if they really need to do too much. I think just like the NBA, I kind of look at the Pro Bowl as more of this honorary thing. It's like cool to have in your resume. I don't think the game itself really means much. The players obviously don't want to try too hard on it because the concern for injury now more than ever is great. They don't want to wear themselves down, especially in the NBA where they do have a tight schedule. They don't get like a big break following All-Star weekend. There's not really a lot in the game itself for them to try as hard as they can, and that's part of the problem, but I don't think that's something that's fixable. I do kind of wish they just got rid of the game entirely and just had it be fun stuff going on, because the players aren't going to try in the game. One thing they could do to make it fun, if they do, like, if they continue with the game, which they're going to, even though no one watches it anymore, they can do a draft like the NBA used to do and they got rid of for some reason. That was so much fun. I loved watching it every year. You got to see Kevin Durant throw shade at James Harden right after he requested a trade from Brooklyn. That was awesome. I'm kind of glad that they got rid of it this year, if they were going to get rid of it, because LeBron drafting every team for the West was awesome. Love seeing him do that every year. Giannis coming in with his notebook. You could have that would be so much fun in the NFL. It was so much fun in the NBA. I don't know why they got rid of it.
And I mean, this year too, I think the NFL is doing like Eli and Peyton as like guest coaches for the teams.
They did that
have
last
that
year
would've
too.
Oh,
they could just
did
have
they do
them
that last
draft
year?
the starters between the full pool.
Yeah,
of
nobody
players.
fucking knew they did it last year because nobody watches the fucking Pro Bowl.
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
the draft would make it so much more fun.
I tend to agree with Cameron here on one crucial point that I think the Pro Bowl used to mean something. Like getting a Pro Bowl nod used to mean something when it came to a player's legacy. It really doesn't anymore. It's all NFL teams. Or what is it? Yeah, all NFL. All pro rosters.
Yeah.
The equivalent of all NBA teams in the NBA. But the all pro rosters now are the things that look legit on a legacy resume. Like Lamar Jackson getting first team all pro AFC quarterback over Josh Allen this year meant something. Like that was a significant moment because that's when everybody kind of knew like, oh, the MVP might go his way instead of Josh Allen's because of how he's played the last chunk of the season.
And I think part of that is the fan voting. It's not really based on who's the best. It's based on who's the most popular. The fan voting matters way too much when it comes to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. It should either matter a shit ton or not at all. Either make
Agreed.
it a popularity contest where it's just the players people want to see, or make it objective. You got to pick your poison there, I think. All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and move on from the NFL. Like I said earlier, we still got a week until the Super Bowl, so we're going to do our Super Bowl discussion next week. But in the meantime, there's a whole other league we got to talk about. We're the Bisportuals. We got to talk about two sports. So let's go ahead and move over to the NBA, the National Basketball Association. We're going to start today with some NBA trivia. I've got 6 questions total here for you guys to try to parse your way through. Some of them I think you should be able to get. Some of them I do not think you will get. So try to prove me wrong. I think this could be fun.
Perfect.
Are we ready?
Are we working as a team?
For some of them, you two will be
you.
working as a team, but for most of them, it is whoever can name more.
Are we
some
playing
of them,
this like?
I am going to be keeping score.
Okay. I was worried about that. And then also, are we playing this like Jeopardy, where like I have to like buzz in, or are we just like?
No, it's going to alternate. It's going to alternate. All right. So first question here. This is an easy one. This one's, I think, is a bit of a layup. Can you name the top 5 leaders in assists per game since 2020? So if you've got a name, that you think is going to be on there, go ahead. Let me know.
LeBron James.
LeBron James is not on this list.
What the fuck?
Hey, Cam, this is for you. Give me Trae Young.
That is a point for Kyle. Trae Young, number 1 in assists per game since 2020. This is a minimum of half the season played per season. So you can't have like a season-ending injury, all of them off. I believe all of these players, I can double check, over this time have at least 300 games played. At least. But
Show
that
me
is...
Luka Doncic.
I would be glad to show you Luka Doncic, Cameron. That is the number 3 answer, Luka Doncic. Trae Young, I'll let you know, came in at a flat 10 assists per game. Luka Doncic is sitting at 8.7 assists per game.
And what's the
Kyle,
number
it's
to
back
be?
to you.
What's the number to be in?
Oh, LeBron James didn't make it, and he was 8.1.
Okay.
Ooh, narrow.
Yeah.
I think, at least I'm hoping he is, because everybody kind of calls him a triple-double machine. Give me Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic squeaks in, number 5 on the list, 8.6. 8.6 assists per game. So we know that's now the low end. These last two guys both have higher than 8.6 assists per game. Cameron, it's back to you.
It's probably not going to be on here, but show me Darius Garland.
Unfortunately, I cannot show you Darius Garland, Cameron.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been doing it this is since 2020.
Yep.
So this is a while.
He was
There's
drafted
a
in
lot
19.
in here. That brings it back to Kyle.
Are we like worried about strikes here? Or no?
No, I'll call it
Okay.
if you guys can't get it. But I'm not
Okay.
worrying about strikes.
Okay. I don't want to say it, but I think it might be right. Is Chris Paul on the list?
Chris Paul barely missed this
That's
list.
what I
He
was
is number
thinking.
6.
I was worried.
Chris Paul at 8.4 assists per game,
Jeez.
0.2 below Nikola Jokic. So you're missing number 2 and number 4. I will say number 4.
Wait. I got it.
Cameron,
Show
go
me
ahead.
James Harden.
Oh,
I would love to show you James Harden. Number 2, 9.3 assists per game.
How did that dodge my mind for so long?
I
kind of
mean,
forgot.
when in Brooklyn, he was a facilitator. He wasn't so
Yeah.
much a scorer. He was a facilitator on that team.
Mhm.
So, big assist numbers. One left. I will let you know. He is technically tied for 3rd, but he
With
has
Luka.
played less games
Okay.
than the person in 3rd place. But it's going back to Kyle for this one.
Wait, who was in 3rd place again?
Luka Doncic.
And he's played less games than Luka?
Yeah.
Is it? I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it because I fucking hate this guy. Is it LaMelo Ball?
It is not LaMelo Ball. No.
Okay, good.
He has
LaMelo
not
Ball.
played.
LaMelo
He's
Ball
missed
is
more games in his career than he's played.
LaMelo Ball is at 11, 215 games played, but 7.4 assists per game. No, this guy. Would you like a hint, or do you have a guess, Cameron?
Who's really slinging that rock? It's not Michael Porter Jr.
There's a recent guy who was kind of slinging it.
It's not Tyrese Maxey, is it?
It is not Tyrese Maxey. I'm going to give you guys a hint, and then it's going back to Kyle, because now you have even guesses. Think this team significantly overperformed last year and sort of headlined around this guy.
Is it Halliburton?
It is Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese
Damn.
Halliburton, 8.7 assists per game. So that is Kyle. At the end of this one, Kyle is ahead 3-2. Still a very close game. We'll move on to our second question. This one is, there's one answer. So whoever gets it in first gets the point. Okay? I'm not going to give you an order. Just when you hear it and you know it, send it to me. What franchise has the most playoff game losses since 2020?
I'm going to say the Timberwolves.
Clippers.
Nope, neither. You both get another guess.
Give me the no.
Milwaukee.
Nope, it's Kyle's guess.
Give me the Suns.
Nope. Back at it. This one's it kind of
It's
sneaks
gonna
up
be-
on you. You don't
It's
think
going to be a team that has gone deep, but does it in a lot of games.
Gone deep. This team has gone deep repeatedly.
Is it the Heat? Did we say that?
This is not the Miami Heat. Cameron, it's your guess.
Is it Denver?
No, good guess.
Okay.
Good guess. Right, you're thinking in the right space. You're thinking in the right space.
Is it the Warriors? Because they've just been there the most?
It is not the Golden State
No, because
Warriors.
they've
You guys
missed
are
the
so
playoffs a couple of years.
you
Is
guys
it a
are
Western
so in the
Conference
right
team?
headspace.
Is it a Western
I'll
Conference
give you
team?
that after Cameron guesses.
I don't want to guess the Lakers because they missed the playoffs entirely one year, but I'm going to say the Lakers.
It is not the Lakers. It's a team in the East.
Oh, okay.
Is it the Sixers?
Nope. Cameron?
Fuck, why are we doing so bad? Atlanta?
Nope. Teams that have gone deep in the East.
Is it the Celtics?
It is the Boston Celtics.
It's the Celtics?
Let's fucking
The
go.
No way.
Celtics, yes, they have the most playoff losses. Doesn't mean they haven't also won, but they've gone deep almost every year, and they rack
Yeah.
up 2 losses here, 3 losses here.
That's fair.
Since 2020, they have the most playoff losses. And then this one, a reiteration. That was since 2020. For a bonus point, can you tell me the all-time leader in playoff series losses? You got to think in the same vein.
Wait, playoff series losses?
Or no,
or
playoff game losses.
Boston
Okay.
Celtics.
Nope.
I'm
Very
gonna say
close.
the Lakers. I'm going to say the
It is
Lakers.
the Los Angeles Lakers.
Fuck. I had the 50-50.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's one of the two. It was one of the two. All right, here we go. Question 3. This one should be right up your guys' alley. Can you rank the top 5 Timberwolves of all time according to MGM? And I'm going to ask you to do it in order. Top 5 Timberwolves players of all time.
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett is number 1. Kyle, who do you think number 2 is?
I'm between Kat and Kevin Love here. It should be Kevin Love. It should be Kevin Love. So I'm going to say Kevin Love.
It is not Kevin Love.
Give me the big the big bodega.
Karl Anthony Towns coming in at the second best Timberwolf of all time. Kyle, it's back to you.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat here and say Kevin Love at the 3.
Kevin Love is correct. Kevin Love is the third best of all time. Cameron, number 4 to you.
I know who it is if it's not Ant, but I'm saying Ant. He took him to the Western Conference Finals. He's the all-time leader in threes. My guy.
MGM does have Anthony Edwards as the 4th best Timberwolf of all time already. Think of where you could go from there. Finally, Kyle, back to you. 5th best. This is where you start to get a couple of options, but I think there's one name here.
Mind.
I don't want to say him because I don't like him, and we're going to talk about him later. But I think it's Jimmy Butler.
It is not Jimmy
No,
Butler.
what the fuck?
Thank God. Thank God. Look, MGM was wrong that Kevin Love is the 3rd best.
Show me Sam
So-
Cassell.
I would love to show you Sam Cassell and his big balls. That was his celebration, wasn't it? Was the balls?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
think so.
that was Sam Cassell. Yes, so in order, Kevin Garnett, Karl Anthony Towns, Kevin Love, Anthony Edwards, and Sam Cassell. All right, we are halfway through. We're going to keep rocking. This one, I don't think you're going to get all of the names on here. So when you can't think of any more names, let me know. I may give you a hint, otherwise I'm just going to call it. But before it was prohibited in the 2005 CBA, can you tell me all of the players who were drafted straight out of high school since the year 2000, including the 2000 draft? Cameron, I'm going to start with you.
LeBron James.
LeBron James was indeed drafted directly out of high school. Kyle, it bounced to you.
Give me a Mr. Kevin Garnett.
I do not have him on this list. Did I mess up the
You're
list?
wrong.
Out of high school.
You were wrong.
Oh,
Your list
yeah,
is wrong.
my list is wrong. All right. Thank you. Kevin Garnett. Got that. Okay. My list is wrong then. All right. Cameron, back to you.
Dwight Howard.
Yes, Dwight Howard, straight out of high school. Kyle?
Those were all my picks.
Yeah, this is where it gets tough. Those three are
Now we
easy.
get into
Oh.
some names where they were significant names. You should know them,
Yeah.
but you're not going to think of
Did-
them off the top of your head.
Can we get like a hint?
Sure.
like-
This man does not know how to play the game of basketball. He can't put a post move to memory. He can't.
God, fuck. What's his name? Fuck. Is it Odom? Lamar Odom? Is that what I'm thinking of?
No, Lamar Odom was on
No,
crack.
he played at OSU.
Oh, yeah.
You're
No,
thinking
no,
of
no, I'm thinking of
You
Lamar.
traded for Lamar Odom, who was on
Who was
crack.
Who was I was thinking of Greg Oden.
Nope. Greg Oden
Oh,
also.
No, I know he played at OSU. That's what I was saying. That
Mhm.
wasn't my guess.
But Lamar Odom was not. Does not fit my list here. But back to Cameron.
He's a bona fide scrub.
Yes.
Why can't I think of his name?
Kwame Brown.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
it is Kwame Brown.
God.
All right. So it's
Yeah, I'm
back.
not gonna get any more. I'm not gonna get any
Okay.
more. I'm throwing in the towel.
Okay, Cam,
Let me rip off a couple that I'm not sure of.
hit me with them.
Yao Ming was drafted in the 2000s, right? Did
He
go to
was,
college?
but I believe it was after
The
the
CBA.
CBA.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I thought of one more name.
Okay,
Go-
Kyle.
Go for it.
Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant.
That was 1996, buddy.
Yeah, pre 2000.
Fuck, I forgot that it was only like a 5-year window.
Yeah, it's a very
We-
short
we-
window.
We can cut that. We can cut that.
No, unfortunately we can't. We can't cut that. That's staying in the edit.
Tough.
I'm gonna throw out some other hints here.
Okay.
Kyle, feel free to chime in if you can get them, but Cameron, they're open to you as well. This guy was 2004, same draft class as Dwight Howard. A Warriors staple. A staple for the Golden State Warriors.
Sean Livingston. No.
Sean Livingston. Straight out of high school. How about this one? 2003, same year as LeBron. Currently, a commentator that a lot of people find really annoying.
Doris Burke. No.
Not an
Shout out
in-game
Doris
guy.
Burke.
Not shout out Doris Burke. Not an in-game guy. He's a panelist, but he also is unable to pronounce the name of Rudy Gobert.
You a goofy Rudy Gobert.
I can't put my finger on it.
Show me your tits. I don't know.
Can't do that. This
I'm
is getting
blanking right
uploaded.
now. I don't want to just throw out names
Okay.
that I know are wrong.
Final
I
one.
can't place it.
Final one I've got a hint for. This would be the stretch. This would be a stretch. One of the most significant big men of the 2000s and early 2010s, a staple for the Suns franchise.
Amari Stoudemire?
Amari Stoudemire.
I thought
He
he
came
went to
straight.
college. My bad.
Nope, he
Dang.
came straight out of high school. All right, I'll go ahead and call it there. You missed a couple of names.
Oh, just a few.
So, just a few. Darius Miles, 2000. Nobody was getting Darius Miles, I don't think.
Nobody knows the 2000 draft class because it
Uh,
sucked ass.
Cameron, did you get Tyson Chandler?
No.
no.
Oh, Tyson
Dang,
Chandler.
I forgot about that.
Tyson Chandler. Amari Stoudemire, we got. LeBron, we got. Same draft class as LeBron. Kendrick Perkins
Oh, shit.
Oh,
did not go to
yeah.
college. We got Dwight Howard and Sean Livingston, and in the last year possible, before it was outlawed by the CBA, Andrew Bynum.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
2005.
Lakers legend.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have two more questions.
Can I get a score
Uh,
update here?
It's not looking good for you, Kyle. It is currently Cameron
Dang.
has 11 points and Kyle has 7. So I'm going to make these last two questions worth 2 points so Kyle has the chance to tie.
Let's go.
Okay? Kyle cannot win, but he has a chance to come back and tie. Here we go. Can you name the last player to win an NCAA championship and an NBA championship in back-to-back years?
Christian
Christian
Brown.
Braun. I said first.
No, you didn't.
Can't
swear to
I
God, I
said
said
it
it
first on my
distinctly
end.
before you.
This is
I was
bullshit.
fully finished talking when you started talking on my end.
That is just not true. That is just not true.
Final question. This one's for the glory. What college program has had the most players go on to win an NBA championship?
It's probably Michigan State, since you're such a big Michigan State fan.
God, I wish it was Michigan State. It is not Michigan State. Cameron, did you guess?
Duke.
Duke did not make this list. They're not even
Kentucky?
top 5.
Oh,
Kentucky.
No, Kentucky is 3 at 15 players.
UNC.
UNC is 2 at 17 players.
What other fucking blue blood?
They're not.
UConn? No, wait,
it is not
no, it's
UConn.
not. Damn.
Cam?
Purdue.
Nope.
God
Nope.
no. God no.
You can think blue, as in
UMich?
blue blood, but they're not a blue blood. It is not UMich, thank God.
Is it UCLA?
It is the UCLA
Damn.
Bruins at 18. They had a lot of, when they were on their run,
Shout out
they
Kevin
had
Love.
a lot.
Yeah, I was not thinking West Coast at all.
Notable
and
UCLA
yeah,
Bruins:
Russ.
Kareem
Yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Jamal Wilkes, Drew Holiday, all
Was
NBA
it-
champions.
Wasn't Westbrook a UCLA Bruin?
Does
Yeah,
Westbrook
but he's
have a
not
ring?
an NBA champion.
Oh, I'm so dumb. Kevin Love. Kevin Love. Kevin Love.
All right, wrapping up our NBA trivia. That is 13 points for Cameron, 9 points for Kyle. Kyle just got. There was a run
got
on
diced.
those straight out of high school players. That's tough. Tough category
just-
for you.
And I got.
I don't
4
care about
out
high
of
schoolers.
5 of Wolves.
True, you got the Wolves as well.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. There has been some bombshell news coming out of the NBA recently. Specifically, as we're nearing the trade deadline and those discussions are heating up, 2 players have further demanded trades. Well, one demanded a trade for the first time, and the other has now been indefinitely suspended by the team he is supposed to be playing basketball for.
Did he demand a trade, or was it just like made publicly known that he's available for trade?
Made publicly known he was available.
Yeah.
He did not ask for a trade.
He's not a drama queen like that.
He is suspended indefinitely by the Miami Heat. I believe he lives and breathes the drama.
We're talking about the other guy.
Yeah, we're talking about
Oh, shit. My bad.
the guy in
My
purple.
bad.
The guy in purple.
So, Jimmy Butler and De'Aaron Fox are now officially on the trading block, or have requested or made publicly available that they would like to be traded. I believe De'Aaron Fox did it through his agency, Clutch Sports. But Jimmy Butler has
Yeah,
done it
but-
through every avenue fucking imaginable.
Yeah.
So I want us to do a little bit of talking about the situations that they're in, what's led to these kind of breakdowns and wanting to be on a new roster. And then we're each going to go around and we're going to give one place we'd like to see both of these players end up. Doesn't have to be the same place for both players, but where do we want to see them go? Cameron, I'll throw it first to you. I want to talk about De'Aaron Fox. What has led De'Aaron Fox to want this roster change?
Well, I think part of it is the instability in Sacramento right now. They fired Mike Brown. They obviously went on a good win streak, but they've been somewhat mediocre since that. There's been a lot of variation in players' minutes. Kevin Huerter got like 5 minutes in a game a couple weeks ago for some reason when he was completely healthy. There's just a lot of instability there right now. Their temporary head coach likely not going to be his head coach next year. I don't think he wants to get adapted to potentially a rookie head coach. I'm sure he had a great relationship with Mike Brown. They did a lot of great things together. I think just the instability in Sacramento is leading to him potentially wanting to go out. And as he said, his top request would be San Antonio, which is a notoriously stable franchise.
Plus, I mean, he may be in his older years, but I still don't think there's a much better coach in the NBA than Greg Popovich. I mean, I may just be giving him legacy alone, but it's Pop. You can't get more of a bedrock, foundational basketball guy than
All I'm
in the
saying
NBA
is
today.
that-
It's like,
Yeah. If the Wizards
It's
got
Pop
the
or
first pick
Spoelstra.
that year, Victor would not be the player he is now.
yeah, absolutely. Kyle, are you Also feeling that it's kind of like the dysfunction in the front office and the team construction and the management of the team, not so much a roster issue.
I mean, majority of that, yes. I can see an argument for a roster issue because the Kings, if I remember correctly, they were in the playoffs last year. They were kind of in that like bubble-ish, that play-in area.
I don't
And
believe they made the play-in.
am
I think they were
dumb?
pushing for the 10 though.
Yeah, they were in
They
contention
weren't-
for it.
They weren't out. Yeah, they weren't a bottom feeder.
Yeah. So, and kind of the way that their season's been pretty rocky, you could say, at the halfway point, very up and down. There's something that they need to do to change it up. I don't personally think that De'Aaron is the problem. I think they have other problems on that roster. And a lot of it is kind of down to the coaching of like really who they're playing at what time and like the synergies of everything and like who you're pairing together. I think they could do that a lot better. But at the end of the day, if they want to make a splash and they want to try something new, this is the way that you do it, is you trade your franchise guy. I mean, the Timberwolves did it, and we are not reaping the benefits of that. So I don't think
We
that the
did it
Kings should be
before
doing that.
too.
Yes, we've done it multiple times. Like, it's a poor decision from a poor front office to trade your franchise cornerstone. And that's where the Kings are at right now, is they're about to make a really poor decision if they do trade him. I think it's fair for De'Aaron to want out because it's Sacramento, and Sacramento is not akin to winning basketball. So if he wants to do something with his career, just in general for a legacy sake, it would make sense for him to leave. So there's a little bit of everything going on here.
He's
Yeah.
given them his all. He's given them his all, and they have
Yeah.
been worse than mediocre.
Yeah, he's done his best each and every year, and the franchise around
Especially
him has
this year,
failed.
I think his trade value is at an all-time high,
Yes.
which might be part of the reason why they're agreeing to trade him.
I don't think it's a 1-to-1, but you talk about the loyalty to at times can be above average, but currently in this current state, mismanaged, misrun, underperforming team. I think you can draw a very similar line to the arc of Damian Lillard out of Portland.
Yeah.
Now, De'Aaron Fox is not the same player. Damian Lillard's whole thing is he is a sniper from distance, and De'Aaron Fox is not particularly effective from 3-point range.
Well, they
I mean,
both have
compared
their
to...
thing. And they're both clutch as fuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they've both given everything they had to a franchise that has wasted it. I mean, I'm looking at this from the perspective of De'Aaron Fox, who is saying, I am playing some of my best basketball right now. I can be a contributor, a significant contributor on a team that has a chance to go farther than the Kings do. I love lighting the beam as much as anybody else, but that beam's been dark for a hot fucking minute. I mean, on average, they win games here and there, but they're not. The Kings were like the diet Pacers in that our whole thing is we're going to score more points than you. And you're going to score 120, but we're going to score 125. That was, I mean, you remember last year it was the Pacers that did that, but 2 years ago, I believe it was the Kings.
When the Kings were the 3 seed.
When they first started lighting the beam.
And they beat the Warriors in the first round, didn't they? That series? Or did they lose the Warriors?
No, they lost the Warriors in 7.
Okay. Yeah. And it's like, we kind of know what the ceiling of that kind of team is. A pure offensive juggernaut is not going to beat the Nuggets, the Mavs, the Grizzlies, even the Timberwolves in their current state. I don't think they could beat them. But you're definitely not going to beat the Celtics. No chance. I think De'Aaron Fox is looking, I'm in my prime. I want to be somewhere where that prime can be useful. And it is not here. And I get that.
It's reasonable. Whereas the next guy, I would argue,
entirely unreasonable. He has done nothing but unreasonable things. We are, of course, talking about the one, the only former Chicago Bull, former Minnesota Timberwolf, former Philadelphia 76er, and soon to be possibly former Miami Heat member, Jimmy
he is a former Miami
Butler.
Heat member. He is never suiting up for them again.
True, he's not playing for them.
Even if he doesn't
he's
get
suspended
traded,
indefinitely.
He's never suiting up for them again.
Kyle, you're familiar with Jimmy Butler and his antics and his
Fucking hate that
chicanery.
guy. Fucking hate that guy.
What do you make of this most recent stint of trade me allegations?
Same old Jimmy Butler. He did it in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure he did it. Actually, he didn't do it in Chicago, but he did it in Philly. Like, he is consistently the common denominator, no matter where he goes. Since Chicago, he is a problem. He is a diva. He wants to be the number one above all else. And realistically, he's maybe, a top 15 player in the NBA, which is great. But
Playoff
he's not
Jimmy is.
playoff Jimmy. Regular season Jimmy, not so much. But like he has an argument to be in a top 15 conversation every season. So, and he thinks that he's just this star-studded, I'm better than everybody else. He's got this huge ego. And then when the team isn't working around him like that, then he demands out. And it's like, it's always the situation. Like, again, in Minnesota, it was the third stringers beating the starters. In Philly, I can't place it exactly, but there was a huge debacle.
He wasn't bought in on the process. That was the whole thing. Because that was the beginning of the Daryl Morey.
To be the guy, and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were the guys.
And at the time, Ben Simmons was a guy.
Yeah,
before his brain was broken.
Apparently, the Cavs want him if he gets bought out.
That's ridiculous.
Hey, Ben Simmons is back in the lab. He's back in the
cooking.
lab.
But to wrap it all up, like, he's consistently a common denominator here. I think he needs to look in the mirror before he does anything else, because you can't go 3 strikes here and blame everybody else. You've been a common denominator on 3 basketball teams demanding a trade out for, I would argue, very childish reasons. And it's just not fair to the organizations that you're going to. It's not fair to the organizations that you join, because they have to figure out a way to get you out of their team. And nobody wants a diva. Nobody wants a diva. Everybody wants the team players. And you are consistently showing that you are not a team player. You are a selfish basketball player, or just a selfish person in general. So it's tough to root for you, Jimmy. And I will never.
I'd prefer if you call him by his appropriate title as known to Minnesota Timberwolves fans, which is, of course,
General
Soreness.
Reporting for duty. And God. I could also say reporting for Dookie, because he's shit.
Yeah.
I hate that.
He dodges every single game against the Wolves. He does not want to come to Minnesota whatsoever.
He doesn't want the Ant Edwards smoke.
Yeah, I am going to cut him a little bit of slack for wanting to leave Miami. I don't think the way he's handled it is great at all. But he took the team to the finals twice, and the front office was unwilling to do anything to get the roster around him over the hump. He has Bam Adebayo. He has Tyler Hero. But they're paying Duncan Robinson. They gave him a 5-year, $90 million contract.
That's a bargain for Duncan Robinson.
He is not a good basketball player. He was good the year he got that contract, and then last year at like the very end of the season. But that's an overpay. I just don't think the front office has done him very much justice, but I think the way he's handling it is not cool at all. He's taking every avenue possible. When Shams first reported, Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami, he and his agent shut down those rumors so fast. But just for him to come out in a post-game conference saying, I'm not going to be happy playing anywhere. He doesn't want to go to Memphis, apparently. Like, Memphis is the only team on his no-go list because they're unwilling to offer him a long-term contract. Fuck, I wouldn't offer him a long-term contract.
I'd say 30 teams in the NBA shouldn't be offering him a long-term contract.
No, he's like 36 years old. He's already making $100 million this year and next year. He just hasn't been the same player the past 2 seasons, and I know it's specifically in the regular season, but the regular season is still part of your season.
Important.
Even if you can get to the finals as an 8 seed, it's a lot easier to do it if you're higher than the 8 seed.
Yeah, should it change his calculation at all by the fact that, yes, in Miami, the front office has not exactly set the roster up for extreme success. They've tried to do the draft and develop. It's kind of worked out, but then their UDFA stars got poached. should it be any compensation for the fact that you get to play basketball under Eric Spoelstra, who is possibly, it's him and Greg Popovich for the best NBA coach of the last 20 years?
Yeah,
Like,
I
is there
mean,
a
I don't know
compensation for that at all?
too much about their relationship through this process, but I'm guessing it's not great at all right now, especially since Jimmy's most recent suspension came after he was told that he's not going to be a starter. He just walked out of practice.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he does not want to play for Spoelstra anymore.
Well,
And
Spoelstra, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, a lot of it also boils down to that front office part of it, of like organizational problems. Yeah, it's great when you're playing basketball, but that's not your entire job. Your entire job is also fighting for yourself in a contract room. It's fighting for yourself in media, or doing all these things for the organization. And if he doesn't want to play for the people in the organization, why the hell would he want to do anything else for the organization?
We've each lined up one team or one spot that we want to see these two players on the trade block go to. We're going to let's start with Jimmy, since we just finished talking about him. We're going to go around, we're going to tell us, where do we want Jimmy Butler to end up? Kyle, I'll go ahead and throw it to you first.
I think that he's going to fit really well in Phoenix. Obviously, that was like one of the top trade destinations for him. They just beefed up on first round picks to try and acquire him. Like, it just makes the most sense. It seems like that's where he would be happiest. I don't know how Phoenix is going to do it because they need Bradley Beal to waive his no trade clause. But beyond that, like, I don't think there's many other teams that are going to be truly fighting for Jimmy Butler in this trade deadline. If Miami gives them a deal they can't pass up, then yeah. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams fighting other than Phoenix. So that's where I see him going.
Yeah, the problem with that Phoenix deal is you have to find someone who wants to pay Bradley Beal that much money.
Which is hard enough to do anyways.
Yeah. Cameron, where are you feeling is Jimmy's future?
I feel like one of the spots that makes no sense, as in this is a team without kind of that big veteran leader, but they're sort of a real contender. I'm sending him to Houston. They've got a lot of young players, a lot of picks. So what I'm doing is I just wrote up a little 1-for-1 team trade. I'm sure whatever Jimmy Butler trade happens is going to be facilitated by a third team. I know Toronto said they're available to do it with their expiring contracts, and Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk possibly getting in some picks. But I just have the Rockets getting Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks from the Miami Heat for Fred VanVleet, Jayshawn Tate, and OKC's 2026 first-round pick. I think that makes sense for both sides. Miami Heat, they can still be somewhat competitive with a backcourt of Fred VanVleet and Tyler Hero. They've got Bam Adebayo up top, and that'll definitely provide more stability to their roster than Jimmy Butler has been giving them this year. Alec Burks has not been good for the Heat. They'll gladly send him away. He's on an expiring contract. He's just there for salary filler. But the Rockets get Jimmy Butler, who can be their vet, who can potentially be a real game changer in what takes them from a young team in the playoffs who hasn't had the playoff experience and can't get those tough wins to a player who can put the team on his back in those moments.
Yeah, I think both of those are very reasonable locations. Like you said, the one thing the Rockets kind of lack here is a veteran with serious playoff experience, and I think Jimmy Butler fulfills that for them. Leader, I don't know so much what his
Playoff
leadership
experience.
capabilities are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that playoff experience is invaluable. I kind of want to go a different route here. I don't want to send him to a team that's very young and needs the leadership. I want to send him to a team that has their star, and that window is closing fast. But they're unable to move off of this guy or this combo of guys. I want to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors. I think the Warriors have been unable to get a bucket when Steph's not on the floor. And I think that would it would give Steve Kerr the ability to sit Steph for a little bit and not have his offense fall off a cliff. Specifically, if they end up giving him the deal he's kind of looking for after this extension as well, that ends up, they lock up that core of Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler until 2027. So that's 3 guaranteed years of contention to try to make that core work, which I think is not totally unreasonable because Steph's not going to play past it. Draymond's not going to play past that. And I don't think Jimmy Butler is really going to play past that. The package would have to look something like the Warriors would have to give up Kuminga and Wiggins and probably Moses Moody too. You could send Pajemski because he's had a little bit of a slump this year compared to last year. But how much
slump this year?
Yeah, but how much do you attribute that to the situation, or is it him just falling off? Plus, Moses Moody is about $3 million more in cap consideration. He's getting about $8 million, whereas Pods is getting about $5 million. So if you need to make the numbers work,
both
that's
teams
a thing.
Would rather have Moody be in the trade.
Yeah. But there's a little bit of finagling with salaries and whatnot, but it's not impossible by any means. I think this would turn the Warriors into fringe contenders. Fringe. I think this would put them firmly in the play-in, maybe fighting for that 6th seed spot. I think if Jimmy Butler decides he wants to play basketball, which is the one real question. But let's go to a guy who definitely wants to play basketball. He just wants to win. Let's head back to De'Aaron Fox. Cameron, where do you see De'Aaron Fox heading in this possible deal?
I think he named a team that he would like to go to, and that team would be stupid if they didn't go all out to try and get this guy. That's the San Antonio Spurs. They've overperformed their expectations this season already, and I feel like if they add a guy like De'Aaron Fox, they can already be somewhat of a contender, at least a second-round playoff team in Victor Wembanyama's second season. I think the fit with him and Wemby would be great. De'Aaron's fast. He's a good inside threat. He can pass the ball really well. Those pick and rolls would be crazy. He can also be a mentor to Stephon Castle, who's been a great rookie for the Spurs this year. The package that I drew up would just be sending De'Aaron Fox straight to the Spurs for Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Charles Bassey with a trade exception. Don't know how that works, but it makes it work. San Antonio's 2026 first, Boston's 2028 second, Denver's 2028 second, and Minnesota's 2028 second.
Yeah, you're going to have to send the farm, but what a pairing that would be.
Again, I think there's going to have to be another team in there to facilitate.
Think about that pick and roll game.
Yeah.
Be crazy.
Like a legitimate score. I mean, who's he running the pick and roll with right now? Chris Paul?
Chris Paul.
And I love Chris Paul, but he's not the scorer that De'Aaron Fox is.
You do not love Chris Paul.
I respect Chris Paul. I don't love Chris Paul. But he is not the scorer that De'Aaron Fox is. Kyle, where are you thinking of sending him?
You know, there's a want from me on where I want De'Aaron Fox to go. There's the realistic answer that Cameron said, and there's just like a fireball answer. I want De'Aaron Fox to come to Minnesota. I think that would be a great kind of long-term lockup for our franchise. To just imagine De'Aaron Fox and Anthony Edwards as a backcourt. You know, granted, we have a lot of great point guard options right now. In terms of like Dante DiVincenzo,
Rob Dillingham.
Yeah, but again, we talked about a mentor.
Dillingham.
Cam talked about a mentor to a young point guard, and this would be another great situation for that. So I would love to see it. It would definitely elevate us a little bit. It would get us off of Julius Randle's contract, but we would also have to get rid of a couple other contracts with it because we'd be well over the second apron. So it'd be tough to make that work. I wish it could. The other team that I kind of threw in there.
As much as I like him, I think if the Wolves are going to trade anyone, it's going to be Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see that
contract-wise, it would have to be Jaden because he's like the 3rd or 4th highest contract on this team right now.
Fourth.
To make the money work.
Yeah. So another team that would not be Minnesota that maybe has a more realistic opportunity for it would be the Orlando Magic. Because they're a pretty young team. They have, if not all their picks, like most of their picks for the next set of years. So they could make a package work to acquire De'Aaron Fox. No offense to Jalen Suggs. He's been a great point guard for him. But I think that's an absolute elevation. I haven't looked at a package by any means, but I think that there's some, dare I say it, some magic that the Magic could create here to acquire De'Aaron Fox.
I think they would have to trade away KCP. He hasn't been good for them. Then they can slide Jalen Suggs over the 2, where he's been an all defensive caliber player.
One thing with that, I think, is it would have to be a choice from the Orlando front office and the head coach to just say, fuck the 3-point shot.
Yeah, because they would really not have much.
They're already.
He's not a
I think
terrible shooter. He just doesn't shoot with that much volume.
But the Magic are already like 29th in 3-point
no.
percentage in the league.
They suck.
They're averaging 30% as a team over the past 2 weeks or so.
This trade would not help their 3-point volume and their like spacing. So, but
they would.
I
have
think
so
that'd be
many
electric.
options to cook you inside.
Yeah, they'd just be able to. That would be the pinnacle motion offense of just you're fucking running the ball and getting back cuts, and someone's gonna beat you on the inside. You're never worried about the 3-point shot, but someone's gonna beat you.
That would
be. It would be fun to watch
for him. Yeah.
I want to go ahead, and you mentioned this team for Jimmy Butler. I want to go ahead and say, De'Aaron Fox, you are a Houston Rocket.
That's fair. That seems like
that would be electric.
I think because currently the leading scorer on Houston is Jalen. I think it's Jalen, isn't it?
Yeah, but Amen Thompson has turned it up so much this month.
Their leader in assists, it's Fred VanVleet at like 5-ish assists per game. If you want a facilitator, De'Aaron Fox is averaging more assists per game right now, and I think with a better scoring possibility of a scoring cast around him,
100%.
I think he would be happy to just dish the ball to Alperen Şengün every fucking time. That pick and roll, think of that. Şengün, De'Aaron Fox running a pick and pop or a pick and it's beautiful. Now they'd have to give up significant assets. You can't. I think Amen Thompson's untouchable. Jalen is kind of untouchable.
And Şengün is untouchable.
Şengün is untouchable.
Jalen's on a very nice contract, which is why I wouldn't want to trade him.
Yeah.
Even if he is kind of inconsistent. He's been good this year.
Yeah. But the tough thing
is so good.
Yeah. The tough thing for Houston there is just trying to find a package that is worth it to the Kings. But if you really want electric basketball in Texas again, what a lineup that would be. The Spurs with Wembanyama and Houston with this dynamic front court, back court combo of De'Aaron Fox and Alperen Şengün.
Dallas with the emergency room and the ambulances and the stretchers.
Mm-hmm. I think they have an in-house thing of crutches for their team.
Yep.
They just produce them themselves.
Branded crutches.
Maverick crutches.
Could be the best thing they do since Grant Williams' poll.
God bless Grant Williams' poll. That shit's goated. So that wraps up our NBA discussion. We're going to hold off on our Super Bowl predictions, which would normally be right here. We're going to hold off till next week for those. Get a little more info. Let the line settle before I tell you whether I'm going to put my money on the game. I'm going to put my money on the game or not. It's just who I'm going to put my money on. But what we're not skipping this week is the one, the only, Cameron's album of the week. Cameron, go ahead.
So this week I'm going to be talking about Lower by Benjamin Booker. It's my favorite album that's been released so far this year. I've listened to about 15 of them, which isn't a ton, but also the year just started. This album's great. I'm going to talk a little bit about Benjamin Booker, his background first. He was born in Virginia Beach. He grew up in Tampa. He currently lives in New Orleans, and New Orleans is where he got his start in music, like professionally. He went to the University of Florida, go Gators, and studied journalism with hopes and dreams of being a music journalist. He started playing shows when he moved to New Orleans. He worked for a nonprofit, and he released his first EP in 2012. According to Wikipedia, one of those songs got picked up by the huge Sirius XM network that everyone listens to. His first album is self-titled, called Benjamin Booker, was released in August of 2014. Great acclaim from critics. Many publications called him an artist on the rise to watch. He waited a few years to release his second album, Witness. June 2017 was again highly praised, specifically for politically motivated lyrics, specifically dealing with race and blending punk rock with blues and soul music. He was inactive for a couple years following the Witness tour, only releasing a single in 2020, and he was featured on a couple songs with rapper Billy Woods, both of which were produced by acclaimed hip-hop producer Kenny Siegel. I don't know how you pronounce that last name, who would be his main contributor on this 2025 album, Lower. This continues with political themes, specifically racial inequality, segregation, and the impact of slavery, while also dealing with topics like isolationism and hope in the darkest time. It mixes a lot of noise rock, grunge, and punk elements with blues and soul, as we've seen earlier. He's taking his inspirations that he grew up with, a lot of these early noise punk rock bands, and mixing them with the blues and soul down in New Orleans. Kenny Siegel helps him do this perfectly. There's some hard-hitting drums, awesome main guitar lines, and a great use of noise to create texture and mood for his songs that his obscure vocals just fit over perfectly. He's got some great song titles. Specifically wanted to shout out Rebecca Latimer Fulton Takes a BBC. Rebecca Latimer Fulton was the last slave owner to ever serve in the Senate. She was a big voice in women's rights and suffrage, which is great, but she was a white supremacist, and she saw black people as subhuman and all criminals, which reminds me of a way a certain politician, Donald Trump, is treating a certain group, immigrants. Don't repeat history, guys. If it's bad, it's bad. We can all see it's bad. Yeah, but check out this album, best album of 2025 so far. As I said, it sounds incredible, and there's a lot to dig deep into lyrically and thematically that really gives it a replayability value. My favorite song on the album is Same Kind of Lonely. It's got a cool sample at the end, and that noisy, distorted, compressed guitar in the background the whole time is awesome.
I want to give a shout out to Slow Dance in a Gay Bar. Not only a great song title, but my favorite track of the front half of the album. Great track.
Yeah, I was going to say, so far in my list, and I've really enjoyed New World on this one. It just has a great sound to it. It's really interesting to hear about the story of this, because when I was just listening to it, not that I wasn't thinking about the song itself, but I didn't realize a lot of the themes. So it'll be really interesting to go back around to this one.
Yeah, his vocals are a little nasally, very pitchy, but I feel like it creates a pretty good tone, creates a unique blend in the genres that he's influenced by, and it can be a little hard to pick up on the lyrics at first, but he does have a lot to say.
I want to go ahead, before we do our outro, I do have some important information that our viewers should know. After quick fact checking, during NBA trivia, Kyle's answer of Kevin Garnett did not fit the criteria, as Kevin Garnett was drafted in the 1995 NBA draft class. That does not fit the regulations of post 2000, between 2000 and 2005.
I don't know.
So I have retroactively deducted a point from Kyle Springer's score. The final score of NBA trivia now sits at 13 points to Cameron and 8 points to Kyle. Important
Suck my dick in
clarification.
Balls,
to all my fans. No, to all my fans. I need to say this. I need to get this off my chest. To all my fans, I'm sorry I let you down. I'm going to be back and better next week. No matter what, it has been and it always will be. Fuck Cameron Gertensen.
And with that, that's the end of our episode. Thank you for listening to episode 5 of Bisportuals. Thank you for taking your time in your busy week and the beginning of your weekend to spend it with us.